Hello and welcome back to Bloody Brilliant Podcast. You're here with me, Emma, and Jamie on this
Wow.
side. I was like, ooh, which side? How are you, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I thought you were like forgetting my name then. I was like, and
No.
Jamie, I think. But no, you're just doing the whole pointing thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll let you off. I'm doing great. As for people that are watching the video, I'm wearing a tank top. It's very nice here in Britain at the moment. Very warm.
Very warm. Obviously,
Yeah,
as you can tell, the arms are covered still, but we've gone for a netted moment there instead of a full tank top.
it's
Though
like
I did get the memo. We're matching this time.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, currently at this moment in time, I know this isn't a weather podcast, but we are on 23 degrees here in Blackpool, Celsius, that is. I
I don't
mean,
know what it is
it's
in
too hot for
Derby.
me. Too hot for me.
Well, that is because you are a redhead, so
That
anything's too
complexion
hot for
doesn't
you.
do it. It's like you go outside, just like completely white. There's luckily
Just,
that I've got the shade at the moment because I've got no light on, so I look darker. It's great.
I was gonna say, I was like the light just like reflects off you.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, anyway, as we've digressed onto weather, we're here today to discuss my choice for you, Jamie, to watch, which is the 2005 film The Descent.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So this was one that I had seen beforehand and one that you had not seen. So, where I did a lot of talking, I guess, with the Happy Death Day episode, this is your chance to get a full episode of you just talking. Are
Oh
you
God,
excited?
no. I don't like talking that much. I just like to navigate the conversations. But let's go for it. Let's see what happens. Just like you're not comfortable like doing an intro. I don't like talking for a
I
whole
think I
episode.
did okay.
This is why I host podcasts, so I don't have to talk so much. But we'll go for it. Let's see what happens.
Cool.
So, The Descent, directed by Neil Marshall. So, correct me if I'm wrong here. Let's go straight off the topic here. It's a British film.
It is a British
It's a
film.
it's a British horror movie about I have no idea why it's called. Is it Deblunking? Kerplunking? I can't even remember what it's called now.
Spelunking.
Spelunking, that's the one right there. Spelunking,
You could just say cave in. That also works.
caving. But I mean, I don't know if you know what is spelunking. Cause it's there for all the bios for Descent, and it's like six
Sp-
friends spelunking.
spelunking. It's just going and exploring cave systems.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I've not actually gone that in depth into researching for this episode, where I've actually gone into the in depth of spelunking itself. But yeah, I believe it's something to do with like the actual hike and exploration of cave systems. I mean, people can comment and tell us otherwise if we have got it completely wrong. But yeah, it's caving.
To
That'll do.
understanding, it's caving. So six friends all across the world. This is one of we're going to get into the film, but this is one of my biggest vices of this film. You had six females from God knows where in the world. I mean, their accents were all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this one British? I want to say this one's Dutch. Is this one from Ireland? You got one from America, and I want to say maybe Iceland or Sweden. I
Pretty
don't even know
sure.
about the other one.
Yeah. So you've got Shauna McDonald, who's Scottish.
Scottish, that's Sarah, yeah.
That's Sarah, and then you've got Beth, played by Alex Reid, who's English, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Juno, who's played by Natalie Mendoza, she's
She's
American.
American. Yeah.
Sam, played by Mariana Burin, and she's British, but I'm pretty sure she's born in Sweden. So she's mixed descent. Rebecca, played by Saskia Mulder, she is Norwegian, I believe, from the Netherlands. And then Holly, who's played by Nora Jane Noon, who is Irish. So yes, we have got a
Yes.
mixed bag, though they are all supposed to be either English, Irish, American, or Scottish. We don't talk about the two that aren't fully English, really.
Yeah. I think, like I said, that was one of my main gripes about the film, was when they were talking, there were so many accents going on. I mean, it's one thing you always get in American movies. It's like you're American or you're British, really. Unless you're a villain, you're going to be European.
Yeah,
That's
I
usually
think
how it goes, isn't it?
I think on the accents thing, everyone's accents are fine. I think Rebecca's kind of is the one, even though she's supposed to be Sam's big sister, they have completely different accents. And I think that's the
Yeah,
one thing that I pointed out last night, which I never even noticed really when I first watched it. But when I rewatched it last night, I said to Ed, I was like, where is she from? Well, that's not a British accent.
yeah. That's the Dutch one, isn't it? Like
Yeah, I
the older
think so.
sister's the Dutch one, and the younger one. So I was like, well, maybe, because again, I don't think there's any notion of how these people met. You just assume that they met on like an expedition or something.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be a closer bond between Juno, Juno, Beth,
Sarah.
and Sarah, because
Mm.
obviously we meet them right at the beginning of the film together. And then I believe the other three people have kind of like gone and met through various other expeditions, if not definitely through Juno. So
Yeah, yeah. So all that aside, there you go. I mean, the beginning was something I was like didn't expect. I mean, from this point on, we are going to start talking about spoilers. So if you haven't watched The Descent, pause it here, watch The Descent. Or if you don't care about spoilers, spoilers are going to happen, so you're fine. Just keep listening. Or if you just like our voices, you don't care, just keep listening either. There you go. So she's dead. There you go. It's over. There you go. The spoilers are here. She's dead. That little girl got hit.
oh yeah, so I think into we kind of skipped over a little bit of context, but essentially we've got six women that go spelunking, like you say, and get into some mischief in the cave systems. But yeah, I think the opening was one of the like my favorite openings to a film, just because it did literally like hit you out of nowhere. I did not
Mm,
see it coming, especially when I first
no.
watched it.
No, yeah. So, like I said, you've got Beth, Juno, and Sarah doing a little bit of whitewater rafting, and then they decide that they need to go home. You've got a kind of weird thing going on with her husband, kind of talking to somebody, Juno, I believe, talking to her privately, and Beth's kind of like something's going on there, and
Mm.
then Sarah's with her little girl, and then they start driving home. Some weird stuff's going on in the car. He's not really paying attention. He's kind of got his mind all over the place. And then when they're having the conversation, the car swerves onto the other side of the road and hits into a lorry. And this lorry then, after the crash, some weird massive poles fly off, impaling Sarah's husband and 8-year old daughter. I can't remember how old she was. I want to say
Um,
maybe 8.
yeah, I think that
I
was
mean, there
one of
was
the things that
5
came up.
candles on. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll talk about the candles later on, but I think I thought she was about 7 or 8. But if you're going by the candles, then she's 5, which I think she was far too grown up to be a 5-year-old.
Yeah, but yeah, and then yeah, that came out of nowhere. I was like, didn't expect that. I thought this was a movie about caves, but all of a sudden, a little girl's been impaled. And then you have that this short moment where obviously she finds out in hospital.
Yeah.
Obviously Juno's visibly upset as well, and you're like, why is she so upset? Yeah. And
Mm,
then because they all lost somebody that day, as she said later. But
she's a
yeah,
piece of
and then
work.
she's a piece of work, that Juno, but she is a badass chick,
Oh, I don't know. I've got some strong opinions about Juno.
which I'm sure we'll get into when we
Yeah,
get
we
to the
will get
caves.
into.
We'll deep dive into those caves when we get there, much like
But
those 6 girls did. Kerplunking. There you go. So I mean that's the opening. Like you said, it's a very strong opening. You don't see a lot of movies kill kids nowadays. I mean,
They
John Wick
do.
kills a dog and everyone goes mental. Little girl dies. 1 year later, she decides I'm gonna go cave him.
Go caving, and I think that's you know very much a modern thing of there is literally no holds. We don't hold any like punches or anything back now in cinema. Children die, animals die, the elderly, everyone. Whereas back in the day, horror was like what a cardinal rule is not to kill children. But then they started making the
Mm-hmm.
kids weird and freaky. Luckily, this child is not weird, but I mean, like Children of the Corn, yeah, they kind of need some. They kind of need some work done to them. But anyway, we digressed again. Are you interested in caving? Is this something that you would do before you watched the film? Would you have been interested in going spelunking?
No.
No, neither, and I'm
Why?
glad we agree.
Why? I
So
mean,
I wouldn't have
I,
minded going actually caving, like like on a tourist tour, whether you
yeah,
walk the steps and everything. That's fine.
it's
Uh,
something that's open to the public and
yeah.
that's safe. I wouldn't go exploring in various areas like, oh, there's a hole here. Let's climb through this hole and see what's on the other side.
No, 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 no. I don't know if I mean, accidents happen in caves all the time, and caves is not an uncommon setting for horror films, but there is real life instances where people go into caves and they do not come back. They do not come
Mm,
back. Um, if anyone's interested in that sort of stuff, look up Nutty Putty caves in America. You won't sleep. It freaks me out, that sort of stuff. No, thank you. But no, I'm glad we agree on that one. That even so. If anyone's thinking about getting us
no,
any presents or anything like that, don't take a spelunking. There you go.
there you go. I mean, we went to Go Ape Grisdale not so long ago, and you have to hook onto stuff. I hate doing all that hooking onto stuff because I always feel like I'm going to mess up. And then it's like, you mess up, you're gone, basically, aren't you? So you got to be extra careful. You don't enjoy it because you're trying to be too careful, making sure you don't mess up or you're going to die. So imagine doing that in a cave where there's going to be nobody around
No, yeah,
besides 5 other women.
yeah. Well, I mean, just 5 other people. It doesn't really matter if we're women or not. But yeah, I wouldn't. I just imagine being stuck in a cave with people you don't like as well. At least these women got on. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine if you got stuck on the
Mm,
group with someone who's absolutely infuriating? You get down there and you're like, oh, got to spend the rest of my
for
waking
God's
moments
sake.
with you.
She
Jeez,
doesn't even know where she's from with that accent.
literally.
And
um,
why is your sister speaking differently?
yeah. Why? Where's the connection? I don't understand. What I was going to say is that the locations of this film are insane. I think some of the imagery and the color palettes of this film are really striking. I mean, for those who are watching, Jamie's put up the cover for the sort of poster and the DVD set. The uses of reds and daylight and things like that in this film are insane. And that first shot where they're looking over the crevice and it just keeps going when they're about to go down. It's
Hmm.
just it's just chef's kiss. I think yeah, there's no light, and then the little light you have, it just looks beautiful. But
I think
obviously, it
that's the
doesn't.
way it's supposed to be, in it, especially later on when they're going deeper into the cave.
Oh
This
yeah.
light is supposed to look like beautiful and holy, and like this is your escape kind of thing. So, I mean, it's like glorious escape, glorious real world. So, I'm thinking that when you're talking about the lighting and stuff, the lighting's obviously going to help with making it look like freedom. I don't know
Mm.
what the correct word I'm looking for, but
I was gonna say as well that I think the film is very good at very early on leaving you little nuggets of information that when you watch it on a rewatch, you pick up quite quickly. Um, when I watched it for the first time, it was Ed's choice to put on, and I had never seen it before. And he was like, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what you're on about." Watching back, you pick up on these things, and it's insane because we literally follow these what could only be described as miles and miles of cave, but in reality, it's literally 20 different sets on a soundstage in London, and they just shot it from different angles.
imagine if they actually did film it in a proper cave, and then some stuff actually did go wrong. But again, probably thought that they did film it in an actual cave. So
Yeah, I mean, I think no, I think the film's scary enough as it is. To have them actually film it in a genuine cave, I think that would just send me over the edge. Send me over the
I
edge
mean,
completely.
I know it's not exactly the same, but wasn't like the film as below so above that was filmed properly in the French catacombs, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Don't know. That
As
another
above so
film.
below.
Yeah, that's another film. Catacombs. Mm. right up my street, but again, only going down the ways that they tell me to go with a tour guide. And a lot of
Yeah,
time that people come looking for us if you don't come back.
yeah. So they got to the cave, and Juno's just being the weird kind of person that she is, decides to leave the tour book in the car. And you were like, what is she planning here? I was like, what is she doing? So originally I thought that I knew there was going to be something down in the cave. So I was like, well, maybe she's just selling her soul and like giving them kind of like bait, for someone to actually like send these people down, and then she'll send them there, and then people can eat them. Like she can survive and get like power or some shit. I don't know. That was my first initial thought. Obviously, I was completely wrong,
Yeah,
but I
very much
mean,
so.
very much so. But it just turns out the reason she left that book, which is explored later on, is because she just wanted to name a cave, basically.
When you put it in words like that, it is such a rubbish reason, isn't it, to go down into this cave? They just want to name a cave. And I think, oh, yeah, I'm going to start. It's going to start the rant now. So it's not even all of Juno. There's some bits of Juno that there's actions she does, and I'm just like, you are the worst person ever. She's the person I wouldn't want to be stuck down a hole with. She is a terrible person, and yeah, leaving the book there. She's also very bossy. I kind of get it from the perspective of she's telling these people, so she's looking after them. She feels responsible for them, but also at the same time, just get off your high horse, mate. That's what the vibes that I got off of her. Also, she looks like she is definitely a very health conscious, running at 6 a.m. in the woods kind of person. No, thank you. No, thank you. That's too much for me. Too much for me.
Yeah, she's a very dislikable character, shall we say? But again, like some of the bits that she did in the film, I really enjoyed, which come later on in the film. But I mean, early on, you're just like, for God's sake, we know you're sleeping with her husband. You're just a dick. Sorry, slept. He's dead.
Past
But
tense.
but yeah, so they get into this cave and start exploring it, and then it comes to a bit like, oh, there's a little hole here. Let's climb through it. That's the
Yeah.
worst part. I mean, claustrophobia. I mean, that's what one of the film does so well, is like making you feel trapped and claustrophobic within this area. Like it's just you are there with them in this claustrophobic area, and obviously it starts off quite slow, building up like it's just them versus the cave, shall we speak? And well, like someone's getting trapped here. The
Mm.
one thing I didn't know again was how quick they might start killing people off as well. And I was like, is one person just gonna like fall down a hole? Is sort of they're just gonna like break their legs? And they nicely did little bits like that to say, oh, maybe something's gonna happen here, something's gonna happen there. And none of that did happen because something else happened later. But when Sarah was going up in that little hole, and it was like she's getting stuck, she's the last one now, so she's definitely getting stuck. It's like, oh god. Um, it's just a hard watch, especially if you don't like claustrophobia. I know. Actually, I've got something to pick with you. Actually,
Oh.
what is the one thing I don't like in films, and what is the one thing you don't like in films? Because they're both
Oh
in
yeah.
this film. They're both in this film. The
Yes, yes. So for those who haven't heard before, in our previous episodes, Jamie's big bugbear with eyes is in this film, and my bugbear is broken bones. When we say bugbear, it is more of it turns our stomachs completely upside down, and yeah, it, it after watching it the first time, I unfortunately had to experience the broken bone scene. Because it just happened so quickly that there was no time to warn myself from Ed's perspective. So on second watching, I just happened to be writing my notes as that scene happened, and thankfully so. Though I feel like I should have given you a trigger warning, I guess, shouldn't I? Really, on the I
well,
didn't even.
yes, didn't even think. Thanks. Well, no. I mean, one thing luckily that I always do now is because Mercedes' big bare bone in films that she absolutely hates is she can't do with animals dying.
That's fair enough.
So every time we watch a film, I have to check the website, does the dog die.com. It's a great website, tells you anytime if an animal dies or anything like that. So I checked it, and it did say there's a bone breaking and there's eye penetration. I'm like, great, gonna love this film. But
I mean, they're not sustained. They are sustained scenes, but they're not like constantly on that thing. If that makes
no,
sense.
but that bone scene is absolutely.
Ooh, oh no.
I
I think as
mean, don't get me
well.
wrong, it's a great scene. I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was brilliant.
It
Mercedes
is.
there going, ah!
It is honestly. It is one of those scenes of like something's gonna happen. Holly is running to what she believes is sunlight. Bearing in mind these girls have only just got stuck, so they've only just, and we know as viewers that's not going to be the exit. Um, she ends up running and sliding into a hole, a very unforgiving hole. And it didn't even have anything to grab onto. It was the smoothest hole I'd ever seen in my life. And she just gone straight in. No, thank you.
Mm, no. And I was like, because it was a little bit earlier. I think it was just before that bit where they started climbing over, trying to get to like the next bit. And they've got that bit where
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to attach these things onto the wall. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, is this where it's going to happen? Because I knew it was coming, the leg break, so I didn't know when it was coming. I
Mm.
was like, could you imagine? I was like, no, if they fell from there, they're dying. There's no way. But
Yeah,
again,
they're
it was
gone.
just so
They're...
tense, like just hanging. I was like, do you imagine the massive upper arm strength that you've got to have to do that? Hanging on one
Oh,
arm and like attaching it all.
absolutely. These actresses are, it's insane. Like, oh, I can't even barely lift myself out of bed these days with the upper arm strength that I have. Like, never mind trying to climb attachment pieces to for my harness. Um, but then that also incurs a very gruesome scene as well. Of I believe it is
Sarah's hand.
not Sam,
Isn't it?
it is Rebecca. She like I thought it was Rebecca's hand, the
It
elder
could have been
sister.
Rebecca. Yeah.
Anyway, one of the blonde ladies, it's either Sarah or Rebecca of those two, ends up getting in quite a horrible. It's not even what do you call it. It's not even a rope burn. It's like they literally cuts
It's
her
a
arm
proper rope burn.
palm open. Ooh,
I think it's
no, no,
just
no, no.
because it's the weight,
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
can you
It's
call it
the
a burn if it goes a
just rips through the
true?
skin. Yeah. But it was just a severe rope burn that just
Ooh.
cuts through her hand and there's blood everywhere. Because she basically fell and she had to save her, and then the rope just through her hand. It's like when you get a paper cut. It's just a rope cut. We'll call it a rope cut.
Call it a rope cut.
Kind of similar.
Um, and then the person that falls, Juno. And do you know what? It's starting to add up a lot here. That
Just let
Juno's
her
seen more
go.
of most of these problems. I'm just saying. Just did. What's she done? Got you stuck down. Oh, but just after the girls find out they are stuck in this cavern, they shortly find out that Juno has not actually taken them to the cavern she said she would take them to. So this is an unexplored cavern that has not been named yet, as Jamie had mentioned before, which is another reason why she left the cave-in book in the car. But also, this means that nobody knows that they're there, and nobody knows where they are in the cave. So she ain't really adding up to be the best leader at this point, in my
No.
eyes.
And I mean, and they say it later as well, obviously after stuff happens, but just don't trust Juno. I mean, you should have known that from the start anyway, but like I said, don't trust Juno because she is a crazy bitch. And like I said, she lied. And like I said, she just wanted to explore this cave just so she can name it. And I think she may have alluded to naming it Sarah or something like that. So I was like, I'm pretty sure, like from the start of the film, she can't be trusted. I mean, you see her kind of like having a deep conversation. I mean, if you saw Ed having a deep conversation with a woman at like the edge of a lake and she's kind of upset, you're like, what the fuck's going on there?
I think there is an aspect with Sarah that she's a bit ignorant to it because she doesn't want to believe anything.
Mm.
But we all know Beth clocked it straight from the off, didn't she? She did notice something at the side of the river after the whitewater rafting, and I think she's kind of kept that extra eye on Juno as well. Um, she does make the observation that although Juno did come to Scotland the year prior, obviously what we can only assume is the funerals of the husband and the daughter, she left extremely quickly afterwards. She's literally not really been there for Sarah at all, whereas the other members of the parties have. Beth is not. She's not blind to that. She's not
Oh,
blind to that.
I thought the Scotland was the whitewater rafting
Well, I
because that's
think
why her family was there.
yeah, true. It's either the white water rafting or and the funeral because I'm pretty sure she
Yeah,
goes to the funeral. She just doesn't stay afterwards, whereas obviously everyone else does. Um, but yes. Anyway, Juno, sus. Keep an eye.
yeah. Keep an eye on the Juno, not the pregnant one.
Not the pregnant one now.
No, but I mean, then you have her running through, breaking a leg, which is, I mean, let's talk. Let's talk about this scene because I mean,
My
you love
favourite
it.
bit.
It's your favorite bit.
Yep.
So again, it's literally just looking at this moment in time like it's a film about survival, isn't it? It's a film about because nobody knows. Like they said, they've alluded to they were supposed to be in a different cave. They took them to this one. All of the rangers know that they're in a different cave. So there's nobody coming to help them. So their only way to survive is to find a way out. The way that they came in is blocked off because of that claustrophobic scene when they're climbing up, and it was kind of like a avalanche. I don't know what the word is to say, and all of the rocks fell down and blocked that way off. So they're trying to run and find the light, and she runs, finds the light. I mean, to be fair, she did say that's not light. Juno did shout out, "It ain't light," and then all you hear is a fall, and then there she is on the floor, and she's holding a leg. You're like, oh, she's okay. She's not dead at least. And then you know her legs hurt, and then you can just see a little white thing poking out, which obviously is her bone sticking out of her leg.
Yep. Not the
Yeah,
best. Not the best bit. I don't know if my reaction sort of leads to what I feel like about that scene. It's such a good scene. I just wish I could enjoy it more. If it
yeah,
didn't literally turn my stomach as badly as it does, then it would be fantastic, but I just can't deal with it. Not at
yeah.
all.
It, it's it's a brutal scene. I mean, because like I said, it just stays with you. Like it doesn't go off anywhere else. The camera is just focused on this injury and them trying to like because the younger sister is a med student, which they alluded to at the beginning as well. Just so there's a little context there for like, oh yeah, I'm a med student. Don't worry, I can help.
Sprinkle that in.
I can just There's only one way to do it, and that's to align the bone again. So. And they proceed to basically just treat it like a dislocated shoulder where they just decide to just keep pulling on it until the bone aligns back into the skin, which which again was a brutal scene. It was like staying with you. I mean, I haven't seen 127 hours, but I know there's a scene where he's with his arm and stuff.
Again, not another one I cannot. No, that is not. I'm not gonna watch that. No, 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 no. It is. And I think that is not even the thing with this film is that we saw very early in the beginning. We've seen it time up to this point in the film as well. it keeps giving, it's good at giving you scenes where everything seems like it's building up, and then instantly it's just like bam, right in your face. Like instantly dad and daughter dead, instantly caught in a cave in, instantly leg broken, and it keeps doing that, and you keep thinking they can't possibly do any more to me emotionally than they already have, because I can't take it no more. And then another scene comes up and you're like, oh, okay, okay. um I'm interested though, when before you watched, did you know anything about this film? Had you seen any reviews? Had you seen anything in passing about it?
I I saw the Rotten Tomato scores, which are all
Okay.
pretty good. The reviews are pretty good for the film, especially as a British horror movie. When I checked the doesthedogdie.com,
Mhm.
it says something about some kind of beast. So I was like, I knew there was something coming in the cave. Didn't know what, but I knew it was some kind of like paranormal thing, shall we say? Something not human, unhuman character was down in that cave.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's the only thing I knew.
So, yeah, I think I had seen clips, I think, in the previous, when you watch these like countdown videos or whatever.
Hmm.
I'm a sucker for things like what culture horror and stuff like that, where these films are very evidently spoken about quite a lot. Um, so spoilers always happen to me, but I think what I didn't expect was that it's a very short window of time in the actual film that they turn up. I think you don't actually, unless again, this is one of those things. I think it's about 47-ish, 50 minutes in where you actually start seeing like a shadow here, a
Hmm.
side profile there, and then it is literally about an hour in until you actually see the actual monsters, and then from there it's just going. As the train ain't stopping at that point. It is just full speed ahead.
Yeah, and I think maybe you think this is what Until Dawn took a lot of influence from.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I know there's not a lot of it, but there is the bits in the cave towards the end of Until Dawn as well, isn't there? Obviously, they're Wendigos, though. I know these aren't Wendigos. But yeah, like you could definitely tell there's some influence there because it was one film for 1 hour, then the last half an hour is like, okay, now basically you're fighting zombies. They're not zombies. I don't know what they're called. Maybe it's explored later on in the second film because there's a
Mm.
Descent Part 2 of what they are or what they're called or whatever they want to call them. So I'm just going to call them the white guys,
I believe the director refers to them as crawlers. So I don't know whether you
crawlers.
want to use that or not.
We'll use the word crawlers. I mean, they do crawl on the wall and stuff, so it does make sense. But
They do.
these crawlers are similar to clickers and stuff as well in Last of Us. So it's
Hmm.
definitely had some influence in other stuff. Obviously, they can't see the nocturnal, so they only see in the night and stuff like that. Like they can't see in the night, but they live in the night, and they use like the clicks that to like vibrate the sounds off the wall to actually hear people, so they know where people are. There's a lot of films nowadays that have these kind of like Monsters In, and then Monsters Inc. No monsters. You've got A Quiet Place,
Yep.
Part One and Part Two. Obviously, with the monsters, they can't hear anything, or they attack by sound. I'll be interested to know whether Descent was one of the first ones to actually do that. Something we're gonna
I,
have to explore.
yeah, I think it is. Especially, it's one of those films that was one of the earlier films to do something in a cave. I think it came out round about the same time as a different film about caves. I can't remember. I think it is called The Cave or something like that. And they it was very much a race in wrapping up
Mm-hmm.
production on The Descent to get it out before this sort of rival film. We see these sorts of things happen all the time where there's similar stuff comes out round about the same time and they want to try and be the first one out there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be second in those sort of situations because they don't tend to do as well. But I think The Descent is definitely one of those four founders of these sorts of things. Um, Again, it's one of the fewer films around that time which had like a full female cast for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even even within the crawlers, there are female crawlers in that as well. I mean, obviously, most of them are bold and look to seem to be male built.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you don't count the crawlers, there's only one male character, isn't there? Well, named
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah.
So there's only one named male character, and then six females,
Mhm.
or seven if you include the little girl. And
Yeah.
then you kind of got the nurse and the doctor in the hospital, but that's it. And then you've got them going to the cabin and then to the cave. So it's a really small production.
Mm.
Uh,
Exactly.
I mean, if they got the accents right, it'll be great.
Is that really going to be like your thing now? Like, just the accents are too much all over the place.
I said that, like, my main gripe for that film was the accents, and like you alluded to as well, they're supposed to be sisters, but they're talking completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
Yeah.
understand if maybe one of them is, but the age difference doesn't work for them to be like, well, I was born here and I've lived there for a few years, and then we've moved there, and then you've been born in this country, so that's why you've got a different accent. But the age difference isn't that much to obviously do that. So
Maybe their parents are separated and one of them was raised elsewhere.
it's probably the only way, because she's a med student, so maybe she's gone to study in America, but surely she'll start to have a twang or an accent. But
I feel like this is very minute of a detail that we're getting to. But we just keep coming back
no,
to this one detail of the accents. The accents
for
are
a
all
film that's
wrong.
got so many great reviews,
You never see it
the
talked
accent.
about, to be fair, actually. And when I look through stuff, I never saw much about the actual accents. But then that says it's testament to the film that you're not really focusing on the accents. You don't really care about that accent. Well, you do, but you forget about that, and you just end up getting
You forget
involved in
about
the
it
film.
towards the end in the last half an hour because shit
Well,
goes down.
shit does go down. Um,
Much like that
Obviously,
bone back in the leg.
we got the bone back in the leg. We move on, and um, it's we come to another part of the cavern which is completely dead, and these women are running out of their flashlights, their flares. They really are losing some of the sort of very small amount of helpful aids they have. Um, they think they're going in the right direction because just shortly before, I think it's shortly before Holly actually gets hurt, that Beth has found a cave painting,
Mm.
which details apparently there is another way in and out of the cave system. So these women are clinging on to a tiny bit of hope, and then turn on night vision, bones everywhere. So either a large community has died down in this hole, or something is bringing these things down here to eat, which nobody wants to hear about, really. Um, what did you think of that introductory scene into the crawlers?
The best thing is when you're doing that night camera stuff, and then she's just messing around, and all of a sudden her face just turns up in the camera, like,
Yeah.
and it's like Jesus Christ. Um, yeah, and then because is that the first time you see them? Oh, that's the second time. 'Cause she kind of sees it by herself, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Like
so
just in the
Sarah keeps
corner, like,
getting glimpses of it because she's convinced
yeah.
she's seen a man down there, and nobody believes her. They're like, "Oh, okay, the darkness can play tricks." No, no, ain't no
No, who
trickery
said
going
that
on
though?
here.
Juno said that. The darkness is playing tricks on you. So
Again,
she knows. So again, she's selling her soul for this shit.
yeah. I mean, I don't think
So
she knew that there was cave people down there. I think she just wanted wanted Sarah to be a bit crazy.
I just wanted to name it. I just wanted to name the cave.
She just wanted. Well, no, it's not even that she wanted to name the cave. She had so much guilt in her body that she wanted Sarah to name the cave.
Yeah.
That's what she wanted. She wanted to name it after her. And I'm like, girl, no.
Just move on and don't speak to her ever again. There you go, you're done. But no,
Yeah.
you had to kill her four friends, five
Yeah.
friends, sorry, four friends, and then yourself.
Yeah, I think we jumped ahead a little bit there, but
Yeah,
it's not a great ending for everyone, really. And again, it comes back to the I Hate Juno Club. It's just one of those things that another notch on that bedpost of why I hate her. She's everyone's kind of like gaslighting Sarah a little bit. I think they even talk about the fact that she's on medication at one point, and it's kind of we as viewers are like, no, it's true, and then obviously we see the night vision of poor Beth, my favorite character. Poor Beth. She's got someone. She's got a creepy crawler behind her back. And one of the things that I read about this film as well is that the actresses had not seen what these characters looked like. They had purposely kept them apart from the main cast.
Hmm.
So when they first meet them, that is like pretty much a genuine reaction of, oh, that sounds even worse. Like sometimes people think, oh, it must be great to be an actor. No, not in horror films, because the directors pull stuff like this on you, where they don't tell you what's going to happen, and then you end up getting the fright of your life of seeing these smooth, hairless, weird creatures in the dark,
Albinos.
albinos,
Why?
blind. Oh God, no, not the one. And no. And
Could you
then
imagine though if you were filming it and you're just like, oh yeah, and then something's gonna happen, you just go, ah, just punch it. Just-
well, again, that kind of goes back to Happy Death Day. I was one of the things that I really liked about Happy Death Day is that when they open the door to the party, and the guy is stood there with the baby face mask on, and her first reaction is just to punch him. I'm like, that is just such a natural thing that it is a knee jerk reaction of you would just punch. But these girls unfortunately do not have such quick reactions, and their first reaction is to try and run away. But poor Holly, her legs pretty much hanging on by a thread as it is, and she's easy pickings, sadly, for these creatures. And Beth running behind her, Joe is left to try and scramble for Holly's body. There ain't no saving her. She's dead. She's the minute it bites her neck, she's gone. There's no. I
Mhm.
mean, I get why she does it to try and save the body, but no, she's gone. There's nothing more that's gonna happen there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm guessing this is where it starts being Juno is a badass for you, though.
Well, yeah, because like I said, you think like the main thing that they do is start running away, and she's like, no, why not? I'm just gonna fight them. And then she's
And
just there like fighting him, just like there. She's got this weird hook. She's got a grappling hook, and she's
yeah,
just there swinging it around. And then she takes out one of them. There's another one coming, and she's kind of like, "No, I'm gonna get you." And then again, as you would do when you're in this situation, anything around you that's trying to attack and come in all different directions, you're just gonna swing. She swings her grappling hook, and it's not a crawler, and it goes straight through her neck.
yeah,
I can't. Whose neck was it again? Sorry,
Beth, per
Beth.
Beth.
Yeah, straight through
Um,
Beth's neck.
again, it's one of those scenes where it punches you straight in the face. I was gonna say
Mm-hmm.
punches you straight in the throat. Bad choice of words, so I went with face instead. It you all yeah. You are almost, well, I was almost, you probably were rooting for Juno in that scene, and then she does that, and instantly I'm back on the I hate Juno train. Choo choo. Straight to station. Like, I get it, you're caught up in the moment. She just leaves her there. She
What
fought
else
so
is she gonna
hard to
do?
try.
It's like
She
impaled right
fought.
through it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
fought so much for. Like, I'm getting emotional. She fought so hard for Holly's body when you instantly could tell that she was gone. Also, she had a broken leg. They were practically carrying her through those caves. If that was me, I'd be like, just leave me. Just
yeah,
leave
but
me.
like it was her fault of why she killed Beth. Like she impaled her, so she feels obviously definitely responsible for killing her. So she's like, I'm not gonna bring her because all she's gonna do is be like, yeah, she stabbed me.
But would you not at least Would you not at least try and look like you need to help this
The hook
person?
came out the other end. It was like there's no saving it.
Pressure,
You saw it.
pressure. I mean,
She
depending
had
on where
two
it's
holes in her
gone,
neck in the front and back.
as long as it's not hit her spinal cord, it should be fine. But yeah, and in her grasping moments of what we think at that point is her last moments, she pulls the necklace from Juno's neck, which we've seen Juno play with it multiple times throughout um the film at this point, and it makes quite a big scene of it. So we all know that's coming back later. Um, and then I think we leave Juno at that point, don't we? And we end up being. I
She
want to
kind of gets her
say
grapple ready to go. She's like, right, let's go kill
I'm
some other
going.
people.
She goes finding everyone else, and I think we end up meeting Rebecca and Sam again, and they have
Mhm.
found a small ledge to hide on, as they
Yeah.
have now cracked it that no speaking, quiet and still is the best plan. Um, which is very quick
Yeah,
thinking because
because
I would
well,
not have
what
thought
one
that.
of yeah, they got up on the ledge and they're just kind of like, well, maybe they won't see us, and then they actually spot it, and then it comes up really close, doesn't it? And it's all like trying to smell, and then it's kind of like they can't see me, so as long as we don't make a sound, it's fine. Because you could see that their eyes, they don't have like an iris,
Mm.
so obviously they saw obviously there's something going on with the eyes. So like as long as we're quiet, we're fine, and that kind of tells the audience then as well they can't see. So the audience are more aware now because now you're like, stay fucking quiet.
Yeah.
Stay quiet, everyone.
I think as well, it's again another moment of tension is built in that area with um, the glow in the dark watch alarm going off.
Hmm.
They think they're clear, they think they're on the home stretch, and it's leaving them alone. But Sam's watch
And
has
all of a sudden
to
it goes,
go and start
"Way,
going
it's your
off.
birthday."
Well, oh my god! Imagine if that happened. Which again, I'd already seen it before, but and last night I was still sat there going, take it off and throw it, do it, and then obviously they do, but it gets you so involved that you want these women to survive, even after there's not really much chance that they are, um, because it comes thick and fast. These women are getting picked off one by one. We've already had Holly's gone, Beth's gone, and now we've got these two sisters who are potentially gone. But luckily, they managed to survive because at this point, Juno has started shouting to try and find the rest of the girls, and is unbeknowingly bringing the rest of the pack of crawlers towards her, which is great for everyone else because that means less for them to deal
And it's
with.
great for you because you're like, yeah,
Great for
get
me.
her,
I'm
get
like,
her.
go get her. Do it.
And obviously Juno doesn't know that they can't see, and then Sarah finds out in the next scene that they can't see because whilst that's happening, Sarah's then carrying on, and she kind of lands in some water. Well, you think it's
Yes,
water.
it's she goes on a kind of little self-serving mission of her own, doesn't she? She ends up hearing Juno's shouts as well and makes her way back to the main clearing. And sadly is not alone in that clearing and finds poor Beth, who has covered herself in bones and blood herself to try and hide away. But she's still grasping on. She's still there. And what a horrible place to find your friend. Especially, I think that the relationship between Sarah and Beth has been one of the strongest ones of the film so far, obviously barring the sisters. Um, and like you said before, the first thing that comes out of Beth's mouth is "Don't trust Juno," because she's done this to me. She's done it. Get her.
She done this to me, and then obviously she has the necklace in her hand, and then she gives Sarah
Which
the necklace.
the necklace says, "I want to say love
Love
each
every day,
day."
love
I
each
believe
day.
is
Yeah,
the wording on there.
yeah.
Yeah. Which are the words of the eponymous words of Sarah's ex. Well, I say ex. Sarah's husband, who's passed away at the beginning of the film, and it all starts adding up for Sarah. Juno's necklace, his words, all those sly glances. Look, she didn't hang around after the funeral. It's all coming together, and not the greatest place to find out that your dead husband was cheating on you with your best friend. But I mean, it gives her that fuel to carry on for the rest of the cave.
Mm. And there's one thing we haven't said yet, which does come into play a little bit later, but she seems to pass out quite a lot, like so because of the Medicare. But she keeps having these hallucinations.
Hmm.
I know she's probably had about one or two at this point, and it's just her daughter blowing out her birthday cake. Um, yeah, and then she's so Yeah, she has one of them. But she's in this place now with their body, and she gets the video camera, and because it's dark, she starts using the night vision on that, which again, smart play. Use the night
Yep.
vision on the camera, and then all of a sudden she can see these crawlers coming around, eating the body right in front of her, which yeah, it's just what you want to see, don't you? And then she's got to be really quiet just to make sure they don't, like, she doesn't hear, like, so obviously they don't find her.
Mm.
And then she makes a little bit of a sound, and then the crawler comes really close to the camera and kind of like trying to see. And then that's when I think she realizes, oh, they can't see me, so
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be really, really, really quiet. And again, it's just a tense moment because you're like, well, she doesn't know. If you just make a single sound, you're done. But
Gone. Off the face.
yeah. And then she manages to find a lantern with gas in it and make her own little torch.
Mhm.
One thing for me, fire surely makes noise.
Yeah. So the thing as well that kind of
Yeah.
gets to me is that like fire does make noise. It makes a crackling noise, obviously, as it burns, as well. But when these animals are getting so uh, these things are getting so close to these characters, do they not smell the difference in the air?
Yeah, I was like,
Especially
surely
when especially
don't
when they're like
smell
right
the
on top of,
perfume, the sweat,
yeah, the sweat, the tears,
the
everything.
blood.
Well, the blood I can kind of understand because as you kind of mentioned a minute ago, there is literally a massive pool of blood to which Sarah falls in. So I can kind of forgive them for not smelling her on that one because it just smells like everything else in that area. But when they're on top of Rebecca and Sam, their nose is touching. I mean, these cave dwellers do not have noses, but yeah. You must be got to be smelling something there, even if it's just the hot breath as they breathe out, like. But anyway, these are small niggly bits. We like to like focus on these niggly bits, don't we? But we don't need to. Um, but the bit where she sort of sees them all eating, she like annihilates a baby one of the crawlers, to which its mum turns up and is very happy about. And they
Mhm.
get into a bit of a fight, which leads up to your best bit of some nice eye trauma there.
Yeah, I mean, with the thumbs just going straight in the eyes. It happens twice.
Yep,
There's
it
one with
does.
like a spike into the eye, and then one where they put the thumbs in the eyes. I'm like, yay, great, love it.
Double the
But
fun.
double the fun. But no, that's just. Ugh. But there's another thing when you talk about the nitpicking. Is like you know there's a dead body there, but they know where to find a dead body and eat it.
Hmm.
But it's not making a sound. So how do they know where it is? So they must be able to feel a body.
Well, this is the thing. Again, another thing is they must be able to feel, but also just choose not to feel because shortly after gouging out some eyes, Sarah ends up laying
Lying
completely
down.
still and they put their hand on her head. So you'd think that feeling of hair, especially because obviously we know a lot of bones in this area, but there isn't a lot of corpses, that would, yeah. And then
Mhm.
again, I can deal with anything for like blood. I'm not so bad with um, urine, defecating doesn't bother me. Vomit and things like that, no. And it dribbles all that like horrible, what I can only describe as like applesauce on her head.
That's
No.
drool, isn't it?
Oh, it's a bit chunky for drool.
Yeah, they're just
Oh
eating
no.
somebody, don't they? It's like, yeah, it's got like a bit
Ooh.
left in the teeth.
It's almost what you know, like when in American Horror Story, when Twisty takes his thing off and he's just a mess. It's like no, 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 no. um, but again, surely they felt the fire. They felt the heat from the fire. She's literally lying there with the bat with the lantern.
Hmm.
But they know they don't want to feel it. They're choosing not to. They just do
Like,
not.
it's fine. There's some women walking around. We need to find them. Forget the fire. It could be one of them, but we don't care.
We
We
don't
need to
care
find the
if they're
other
laying.
ones running away.
Yeah, just find the ones running. If they're stood still, don't matter. They're lying down, don't matter. Just the running ones.
I got this one. I'll save you for later.
Yeah, kind of where you are. Um, I mean, I think a good thing about this film is that we see a lot of them. We see them using techniques that don't necessarily. They don't explain it before they do it. Yet we see them do it, and we're like, oh, that's actually really good. And you know, like you see, like it is a really big thing in films where they sort of maybe it's more of a mansplain sort of situation where they have to go into detail to what they're doing before they do it. We
Mhm.
just these women just do it. Like Juno using the lighter to find out where the draft is to work out where the right way
Mhm.
to go in the cavern is. You wouldn't think I would never have thought of that, but obviously it must be something if you do a lot of spelunking or caving that is pretty part and parcel of surviving if you were to get in such a situation. And again, these women using the glow sticks and the night vision and things like that to aid their way. They're smarter than I am, is what I'm basically saying. Because I would never would have even thought. I would have just laid down and accepted my
You're
fate.
not, because you wouldn't have gone there yourself.
Well, yeah, I just wouldn't have gone in the
Right.
first place. That's very true.
Spelunking, good thanks.
All right.
But I mean, we're coming towards the climactic moments now within the film. You have the sisters finally getting taken out, and we're just left with Juno and Sarah waiting to finally meet up so Sarah can confront Juno about everything. Or if she is going to, maybe she's just going to let her go and they can both escape and try and find a way out together. And they come face to face,
They do.
and she just drops a necklace, and Juno's like, oh shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and then that great moment. I bet you were cheering at that bit, weren't you? When she just basically goes, "Oh, they're all coming for us. We might as well. Like, we'll try and go. We can talk about it." And she just grabs like the axe or the hammer or something. I can't
It's
remember what
like
it
a
is.
pick,
It's
isn't
the
it? It's like
spiking,
a
yeah,
climbing pick.
and just puts it straight through Juno's leg. It was like, "I'm not going to kill you, but if you want to escape, you can." Right into the right, or maybe it's just because like I'm gonna let them eat you because that's a worse death. But I literally just pike right into the leg. See you later, Juno, you bitch. Let's walk away.
And this is the thing is that even if you completely forget the sleeping with the husband situation, what has Juno done for them? She's got them trapped in this cave. Nobody knows they're there. She obviously we know that she's hurt Beth. Juno so I think Juno knows that she was still alive when she left her and that she left her for dead. Um Ed had a discussion with me last night where he thinks that it's fine. She might not have known. She might have just assumed she died there and then. I was like, no, no, no. Beth was writhing around on the floor. She had her hand on her neck. She was dying, and she left her there on her own to fend against these animals. And again, she then barefaced lies to Sarah's face again when Sarah says, "Where's Beth?" and she goes, she's dead. They got her. And she goes, did you see it? And she stands there and Juno goes, yes. And I was like, oh, you liar. You didn't. You did that. And then you left her. There wasn't even any of them in the area at the time when you did that. So yeah, she got just dessert. I think even one of my notes is, yeah, here it is. All these women deserve better, except Juno. It was her fault they were down there in the first place. So that's my feelings on Juno.
Yeah. And then we carry on now with our main girl going into the final moments trying to escape from the cave. And she has another hallucination of a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sees her this time, doesn't she? Like, next to her with the candle and stuff. And then the light comes from the cave. And it's like, yes, we can get out. And then it finally looks to escape, and then gets out of the cave, gets in the car, starts driving away, having a good time. She's like, yes, I made it, driving frantically, let's get far away as possible. And you're thinking at this point, surely someone's in this car just to mess with her or something, or because they do come out to hunt, don't they? So maybe one of them's going to come out and chase them that way. But obviously that doesn't happen. She parks up. She's got enough. She's got enough road. Like she's got enough distance between her and the cave now. Parks up. Have a little bit of a cry. I've survived. And all of a sudden, you just see a dead Juno like, aye, right. And then it goes back to the cave, and it turns out she didn't actually escape.
Well, it's a great ending, but that's the ending for us British viewers. Incidentally, if you viewed this film in the US, Juno turning up in the car is just the end, and that's it. Apparently, the American viewers just didn't like that bleak ending of being stuck in the cave for the rest of eternity. But us British love it. We love a bit of sadness, despair.
Yeah, and it's just got a nice shot of it zooming out of the cave, and she's just there by herself, with the flickering lights and stuff. And that then roll credits. That is the end of the movie.
It is, and in that last sort of scene where we see her with her daughter and the cake, we see her with the daughter with the cake. That there's 6 candles now, which I think kind of essentially seals the fate of Sarah. Sadly, in this version of the film, anyway, that I think each candle's for all the people that we ended up losing in that cave. But yeah, I liked the ending. I feel like if it had ended with the Juno in the car bit, I would have felt like it was a bit of a cop out.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, so we love that kind of like bleak ending. You don't always need a happy ending. I've always said, like, if I ever wrote anything, you don't want a happy ending. Let's
No,
get the let the killer get away with it. Fun morning.
I think this is
Everybody.
something. Well, yeah, everybody likes, especially when it comes to like reoccurring films, like like these franchises like Halloween and Texas Chainsaw and things like that. The people, no one's getting out for the most part. Maybe one person per film. That's it. But I think, and this is something with British horror, is that we do tend to have a lot more quite dark and despairing kind of endings, and a lot of films nowadays are doing that kind of over and over again as well. There isn't really much of a final girl trope nowadays, unless it's in a sort of more light and satirical view of a final girl. Obviously, like we discussed a couple of weeks ago, we have Tree in Happy Death Day, but the director Neil Marshall, he wasn't really fussed on an ending, so he was open to reshooting an ending, to just have it end for the car scene, but also at the same time he said, just because someone escapes, does it really mean that it's a good ending? It's not always such happiness and sunshine just because you got out. It's quite psychologically breaking for being in such a situation.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because I had a look at him. He hasn't really directed a lot of films. I think before this, his other big film was Dog Soldiers.
I think that was the only thing that he'd done beforehand. Which I like Dog Soldiers. That was a like growing up kind of childhood film I watched. So
yeah, so most people may not know this. I'm sure most people do, but the way it ended, she's in the cave and stuff, and then there's a Descent Part 2, which obviously we have. I haven't seen it, so I can't really
I
talk
haven't
about
seen
it.
it either.
You haven't seen it either, but Sarah is in this film.
She is. So the second film, I think, was more spurred on from the American ending, the US ending, and probably was more of a US audience kind of thing. I feel like I could have been fine with just The Descent and no need for the second one. It could have been fine as a standalone, but obviously, if the first one does so well, you kind of want to get on that hype
Hop
as
on
it
that money
continues.
train.
Oh yeah, gotta get the money whilst you can. And one of my sort of reservations about watching the second one is that I wouldn't want it to be that they get a bigger budget, they don't do quite as much camera work stuff as they do with this one, and it ends up being a bit of a literally just a money grab. Because that would make
Yeah.
me quite disappointed considering how well this first one was. I liked it so much.
And like I said, Neil Marshall didn't return to direct this film.
Mm-mm.
I don't think he even wrote it. I think he may have just had an executive producer role because obviously the first film.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you've read the plot or what it's about or whatever, but from what I read, the basic plot, obviously we're not doing a spoiler episode for Descent Part 2, is apparently Sarah gets out. She tells the police that these monsters in the cave, and they don't believe her, so she has to take the police to the cave and go through the cave to find these monsters. That's what the second film's about.
Which is kind of essentially on the same wavelength of if anyone's watched The Collection and its subsequent
Mm-hmm.
The Collector afterwards. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, someone escapes the first one, has to take a group of people back to figure out what happened in the second one. It's a trope, it works. It keeps that reoccurring person in. I believe that the other girls are credited in the second one, but I imagine it's just flashbacks. I don't think they would have had the actual
Well,
actresses
their
come
body's
back.
just like, hello.
Or the bodies, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's one of those films. It's probably more of a cult classic, I was imagining, because a lot of these women, we probably know them a lot more from their TV acting, especially in Britain. We have Beth was in Misfits season 1, and Mayanna Buring was in Ripper Street, if anyone's watched that in the UK. So they don't really go on to do masses of work afterwards, kind of more TV film sort of stuff. But Neil Marshall did go on to do a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones, and he also did an episode of Hannibal. The more you know.
I am. So, you've already seen it, so I'll start with you. How many avocados would you give it?
It's
How
not
many pumpkins?
avocado. How many pumpkins? I would give it. Do you know what? I don't have anything wrong with it. I think this could be a 5 pumpkin for
Five
me.
pumpkin, even with
There's
those
nothing,
accents.
even with those accents. I think as watching it as a standalone, not no sequel. I've watched the true ending. How it was originally made. I think it there's not what can you quibble about on it? It's an all round film. The characters are built up. You learn quickly about them. They're fleshed out. I'm pretty sure this film passes the Bletchell test. Is that how you say it? Whereas basically there's a scene where two women are talking about something that is not a man, and granted we talk about the husband a fair bit about the film, but other than that, they talk
Mhm.
about all sorts. So yeah, I like it. The designs are amazing. The directing's great. It's a 5 for me. What about you? What did you think?
I'd say 4.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Mm.
It's the accents, isn't it? The accent stopped it from being a 5 for you.
Couldn't. Yeah. I kept getting people confused as well. Like I said, all the women were great, but at points I was just like, which one are you again?
I
Then the
don't think the
accents
light
happen. It's like, all right, fair enough.
the
The
lighting
line doesn't
doesn't
help.
help on
Yeah.
that one. No.
Yeah.
And I
The only
think as
one you
well very
definitely
much.
knew was the Irish one because she sounded completely different to everyone else.
And the Scottish one.
Well, obviously Sarah and Juno, and then you had the Irish one.
Yeah,
Then you had the other three, which I was kind of like, I don't know which one's which now, but okay.
fair enough.
The main three are fine. Yeah, the other three I was just kind of like, they're just there to die.
Yeah. Well, don't you be bad mouthing my Beth. She was a very integral character. She was the storyteller. She was the one that connected the dots for Sarah,
Mm,
and a good friend to boot. And then Sarah had
yeah.
to smash her head in with a rock. So sad times.
Didn't even talk about that, did we? She
We
had to kill her.
didn't. As well, I was gonna say, would you have the strength to smash your best friend's head in with a rock?
Yeah, it'd be fun, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't. I think she doesn't hesitate as well. She's literally in that frame of mind where she goes, "No, I can't do that. I can't do that." And then she's like, "You're gonna have to. You can't let them eat me." And then she just went, "Done,
I mean, they're still going to
sorted."
eat her, just not while she's alive.
Well, yeah, I don't. You wouldn't want to be eaten alive, would you? Like bloody what's his
No.
face in Shaun of the Dead, where they carry him out the window.
Yeah, that's true. But no, like I said, 4 pumpkins. I mean, that gives it an average of 4.5.
Yeah,
Fair score.
it is a fair score. I think we've been very. They all kind of average out around that four pumpkin mark, don't they? So far,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have to find something that we just don't
We're gonna
agree
find
on, aren't
something
we?
bad. Let's find
We
something
have
bad.
to.
I mean, we haven't
Uh,
decided what the next film is, so it's my choice, isn't it?
it's your choice. It is indeed. Are you going to
Well,
choose one that you've seen? Or are you going to choose one that neither of us have seen?
you'll find out in the next episode.
Ooh.
But I mean, that links us nicely to the next episode. So, do you remember what are we talking about next episode?
The next episode, if I remember the order correctly, is the cheerleader, the jock, the nerd, and the virgin. I believe if I've got the wording the right way around. But we're talking about tropes, and we're talking about especially teenage horror.
The teenage movie horror tropes. That is the next episode. But in the meantime, make sure to like, subscribe, follow wherever you find your podcast. And you can follow us, you can like us, you can tweet us. You can't tweet us. You can Instagram us. You can message us on at Bloody Brilliant Podcast. And that is this week's episode of The Descent. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next 2 weeks talking about horror movie tropes.